Greetings from Cayman Brack. I'm Gail Woods bringing you another edition of Monday Musing. Did you know that Christ promised manna as nourishment to continually strengthen us? In Revelation chapter 2, verse 17, it says, "To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the hidden manna." Now, what did he mean by that? We first hear of the manna in the Old Testament book of Exodus. Approximately 2 months after the Israelites escaped from Egypt, their food supplies began to run low. Supplies were rationed. God told Moses, "Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you." And the word bread in the Old Testament Greek Septuagint is the word manhu, or manna, an unusual word that had never been used before in Scripture. And it's a word that describes a heavenly provision of supernatural sustenance like bread. Well, when that manna first appeared on the ground, no one knew what it was, how it originated, or how God had provided it. Every time the Israelites took it in their hands and lifted it to their mouths, they were partaking of a divine phenomenon with no natural explanation. God graciously provided supernatural sustenance to sustain them in their time of need. They had other forms of food, but there was something so supernatural in this manna that it supplied what no natural food could provide. These qualities also describe the supernatural sustenance that God provides for us today. We don't always know how he imparts his divine supply for us, but we're thankful that he does. And with each touch of his hand on our spirits, our bodies, our minds, we're strengthened, we're refilled, we're replenished. It is supernatural provision. And God superabundantly supplies whatever we need. Our part is to draw near to his table, pull up a chair, and open our hearts to him. And as we do, God serves us a feast of his power. Psalm 78, verses 23, 24, and 25. The psalmist records that God opened the doors of heaven and rained down manna upon them to eat. Man did eat angels' food, the psalmist said. For the children of Israel, this miracle was an everyday event that occurred for 40 years. In fact, an entire generation of young people were born during that time period who grew up thinking it was normal for 4,500 tons of manna to appear each morning out of thin air. God instructed the children of Israel not to hoard the manna, but rather to trust him to provide them with the sustenance that they needed each day. The manna that rained daily in the desert was an ever-present reminder that God was faithful and would not lead them on a path that lacked his provision. And likewise, we need to trust God, that he will touch us every day with the power and substance we need to be strong overcomers. He simply needs our availability. He's willing to give, but he needs hungry takers. Now, in order for us to do what God asks us to do, we must regularly eat at his table and receive of his grace. He provided manna to sustain his people in the wilderness, and in the same way, God promises divine sustenance to believers who overcome. Jesus, you see, offered a manna in Revelation 2:17 to those who overcome. And this was a declaration to believers throughout the generations that he provides nourishment in times of need, and that at his table the food never runs out. There's a divine supply of provision for you and for me, a supernatural, heavenly touch that will replenish and strengthen us, enabling us to overcome in the most difficult circumstances. Are you ready to pull up your chair to God's table and let him set a feast of heavenly bread before you that will fill you with a fresh supply of awesome power? God is willing to give you his divine sustenance every single day, but you must be willing to come before him, seeking his strengthening power, his strengthening sustenance, his blessed presence. It's good being with you once again. God bless you richly. And remember that if you're on Cayman Brack, or if you're visiting Cayman Brack, our doors at Watering Place and Spot Bay Churches of God Holiness are always open to you. We welcome you to come and worship with us. We believe that you will enjoy your time and that you will receive God's blessing upon your own soul and life when you do. We look forward to seeing you soon.